Hello one and all, this is my review of My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and right after that, just spoiler warning, you haven't seen the movie, click off this video now. I'm also going to talk about some things in the manga at the end of the video, but I'll give a warning before that, so don't worry. And let me just say, I absolutely freaking love this movie. And what I absolutely freaking love about this movie was that it isolated Class 1A from the whole rest of the world. It put them on Nabu Island and said, alright, now you're the heroes, you're in charge of the island, so try not to screw things up. It does make me kind of question exactly what a hero's role is supposed to be, because they were like recharging batteries and helping little ladies cross the road, and there's so many other little things like making ice. So not exactly sure if that's what a pro hero is supposed to do. I mean, it took all 20 of these kids working full time to keep up all the requests, and yet they had the previous hero, one single hero, cover the entire island before he had to retire because of old age. So, a little curious about that, but what I really loved about this is it gave all the characters a chance to really shine, show up what they could do, both in the ordinary sense, like Shoto making a guy ice, Kodo finding a lost puppy, Tenya helping a little lady get across town, and also in a very dramatic way when the villains showed up, when everyone could really show off what they could do, when everyone really went beyond, when everyone really went plus ultra, and that was just so amazingly well done. I mean, seriously, everyone in Class 1A, besides Invisible Girl, had a chance to shine. It was just so absolutely amazing. I mean, there's Ayama, a character who, quite frankly, I hate more than Mineta. And yet in this movie, he unleashed a freaking naval beam so strong, it actually scattered these villains. A naval beam stronger than most of the attacks Deku can throw out at this point. That was freaking amazing. And that wasn't even the end of it. Even after he basically put himself from that attack, he still kept fighting. He still kept attacking, even though he was in such unbearable agony. Love that. Mina showed off some incredible flexibility and maneuverability as she kept dodging all those hair attacks until, well, she couldn't, and that gave Tokoyami an amazing chance to shine. I mean, he's such a quiet and reserved character, I often forget he's like that for a reason. I mean, his quirk is so overwhelmingly destructive that if he loses control, he could defeat every single member of Class 1A with ease. That's terrifying. And so he keeps himself reserved, meditated, quiet, so that he doesn't lose control, so that he doesn't let his emotions overwhelm him. Reminds me a lot of Raven from Teen Titans, you know? She has crazy power, but she has to hold it in because she can't control it at its full force. I just really liked a chance to see him shine like that, you know? Once he saw his friend, his ally, his classmate injured, he lost control. He let his rage take over, and it was so freaking beautiful. He became a god of destruction, and I loved it. Alright, next up, Asui, who was absolutely amazing, showing off how skilled she is at water rescue as she flew through the water like a bullet to rescue the kid who got dragged out by the current. Love that. And then later on, she used her freaking stomach acid to paralyze Chimera. And that's a skill she doesn't really use all that often. By putting it on the armor of her classmate, she's able to, you know, have them apply it to the villain and essentially wear him down. I really like that. Ida and Momo both showed off some incredible leadership skills in this, and I really like that. I mean, they're a class rep and the class vice rep. We don't really see that very often, but here, you know, they were giving out the orders, giving out the instructions, like, you go here, you go there, you do that, you don't chase after the villain because it's obviously a trap. Very calm, level-headed. I really like seeing that. Honestly, I kind of forgot they were the class rep and the class vice rep for a while now, but, you know, seeing them really take a leadership role here was really cool. And I just love seeing Ida carry that little lady across the town over and over again. That was so adorable. And Momo showed off some incredible determination here as well. Once they were all evacuated, she kept making as much stuff as she could until the point where she basically passed out because she's had to do as much as she could to protect the people. And then even after that, she built 2 freaking cannons! She built cannons, for God's sake! They were freaking amazing! Love that! And at no point did she accidentally become naked, so that's good for her character. Uraraka was really fun to see in this movie as well. At the beginning, she made herself and the other girl super light so that Deku could essentially fly with them on his back. That was really funny. I like that. And in the final fight, she was freaking amazing, lifting hundreds of pounds of heavy rocks and trees and everything in the air, smashed into the villain, really showing off what she's capable of. I mean, really going past her limits to the point where she basically vomited and then passed out. And even then, she came back into the fight again, even though she was so broken and defeated. I loved it. Ojo was pretty cool as well. He managed to do some very impressive attacks with his tail, and he managed to hold back Chimera by himself while his classmates went to go get backup for him, which was very impressive for him. Kaminari also showed incredible will and determination. Beginning, we saw him, you know, recharging a guy's battery over and over again, which funny and basically all he was good for. But then at the end, he was like charging up the generators and batteries and everything else as much as he could to the point where he literally fried his brain. Oh, and then the final fight, he acted as a freaking lightning rod. He let himself get struck by lightning to save Deku and Bakugo so they could keep fighting. That was freaking amazing and I loved it. Best Kaminari moment so far. Likewise, good old Kirishima, he took a hyper beam to the face. He took a full-on hyper beam from Chimera to the face and somehow didn't die. That was his iron will going beyond plus ultra style there. Just, I love that. Kodo was also pretty impressive. Again, another character we don't see very much of, but started the reminder of his powers by having him find a lost dog. And then he used his powers to summon a wall of crows to block the villain's view so they could save Deku, Bakugo, and the kids. That was very impressive, and I really like that. Sato was okay in this movie, not great. I mean, in the beginning, he used his powers to rescue the kid, and then frighten the kid because his face was so scary. And at the end, he was, blocking the cave, making sure the villains couldn't get in there, which was certainly an important role for him. Shoji really showed off his skills well at the beginning of the movie, acting as a lifeguard so he could find the kid who got sucked out into the sea, and then later on he served as a freaking human shield. Like, even as he was, cut to ribbons by nines, he still just kept protecting those kids, which I loved. And then after that, even after he was already cut to shreds, he once again jumped on top of them to keep them from getting hurt by the villain's attacks, which is absolutely loved it. Really went beyond there. Jiro helped find Katsuma when he was lost, or kind of lost, not really lost, but whatever. And then really used her sound beats to smash at nines with everything she had, even after she was already pretty badly injured. I really like that. Sarah uses tape to write a "don't go past this point" sign on the beach, which, okay, kind of nice. That certainly got a lot of applause from the townsfolk, which was nice. And then used his powers to snap onto boulders to smash into nines with everything he had. That was pretty impressive. I mean, Todoroki definitely went beyond. Started off the movie just making ice for shaved ice. In the end of the movie, he literally froze Chimera solid. And by the end, he nearly froze himself to death just to stop Chimera. I really like that, the whole thing Endeavor has, the overblast, whatever he calls it, that pushes his body to absolute limit, going as physically hot as he can. Well, Shoto did that with his cold side, going as absolutely cold as he could. And that definitely came pretty close to killing him, because he couldn't, heat himself up while he was doing that, because that would have raised the temperature. He literally had to let his body almost freeze to death just to use that move. Very impressive, and I love that. And even Mineta kind of shined in this movie, using his sticky balls, which, oh, that's a terrible name, to stop some pervs from messing with the girls, even though he didn't get any credit for it. Poor Mineta. And then twice in the movie, he kept throwing at his balls until his head was literally bleeding. I'm definitely going to call that going beyond plus ultra. And now, let's talk about Bakugo, because, not gonna lie, Bakugo is not my favorite character, despite the shirt I'm wearing right now. And yeah, this was his movie to shine. This was his movie to really show off just everything about him. Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, he was very lazy, refusing to do any jobs, as he viewed them all as being beneath him, as not the work of an actual hero. Which, again, I'm kind of debating exactly what a hero is supposed to do, since they were mostly just being servants for the entire village. But then when he had a private moment with Deku, the two of them had a talk back and forth, which is really amazing. Because Bakugo wasn't talking down to Deku, he was talking to him as rivals. He still believes he's stronger than Deku, he still believes he'll beat Deku, but it wasn't like, I'm going to kill you, Deku. It was more like, once you fully master that quirk, once you make it your own, we'll have a true fight between the two of us, and then I'll prove I'm the best, I'm the strongest. And just really nice seeing them acting as friends, as almost brothers, essentially. I mean, since Bakugo learned the truth about All for One and One for All and all that, the two of them have definitely been closer, more friendly between one another, but this was really one of the few chances we've really seen, and I really liked how they showed it off. And we also saw Bakugo not being an idiot, which I like. I mean, he's often pictured as this crazy wild child who runs into a fight head first without thinking about the consequences or anything like that, but he was very easily able to tell that the giant monster he went to go fight was actually fake, which I liked. And then he straight up threatened to murder the kids, which, not very hero-like. Kind of curious what happened if Deku hadn't stopped him, quite frankly. But, that's Bakugo, the angry, violent type. And we do actually have a very interesting conversation where Deku is talking to Katsuma about what it means for him to be a hero. And I think the best way I can describe it is, for Deku, in order to save people, he fights villains. Where Bakugo fights villains to save people. They both want to save people, but Bakugo is more focus on the actual fighting, the defeating the villain, being the strongest of all times. And he does actually care about the people. And when Deku came in and saved Katsuma from Nines, Bakugo also saved his sister from falling and hitting her head, which was probably one of the most heroic things I've ever seen him do. I really like that. And, then after Deku and Bakugo both get their butts completely kicked by Nines, and are struck by a freaking lightning, they don't give up. They're still grabbing onto Nine's legs, both of them, both Deku and Bakugo, trying to stop the villain with all they have. That was just such a great parallel between the two characters. I really love that. And seriously, Bakugo's determination is freaking insane. At one point, he blew up his own freaking right arm just to escape the villain, just so we could knock him out. That was freaking epic and badass and amazing. Though, I really thought he killed the villain, the whole mummy villain. He launched at him with his full force, right to the face, and somehow the dude did not die. Kind of curious about that, honestly. That feels like the kind of thing that kills a person, just saying. Also just saw, Bakugo's incredible maneuverability in this fight when he was going up against Nine, being able to get around him, hit him from behind, going around his shield. Just very impressive how he used his blast to maneuver into just the right angle, take out the villain. I really like that. And then we come to the climax. I heard multiple times before I saw the movie that the ending was what the main author originally had planned, how he was originally going to end the series for the big final fights, and I didn't really know what that meant. I had a lot of theory suggestions. I did not see this coming. I did not see Bakugo inheriting One for All. I just didn't see that coming. And the fight was so freaking absolutely unbelievably amazing as his hair glowed and Deku's hair glowed and they fought together like that. It was just freaking godlike. Though I really shouldn't be too surprised, because the series definitely did feel the need to explain exactly how One for All is transferred, what it means, all the specifics of it. They even went back in after the fight with Stain, so they really explained, oh, you can pass the power on to someone without them realizing you're doing it. I mean, the moment was absolutely freaking insane, incredible, and I screamed when I realized what Deku was planning on doing. But it definitely had some problems. I mean, for one thing, Bakugo had no trouble controlling One for All, despite just literally inheriting it, even though Deku spent, weeks and weeks trying to figure it out. I mean, you'd argue, Bakugo was used to having a quirk, so it wouldn't affect him quite so badly. And he did end up breaking both his arms. Also, the power just transferred, automatically, where with All Might, it said, oh, it's going to take a few hours before it kicks in. So just go to do your test and see what happens. Very irresponsible All Might, but okay. I get it, they had to rush, because not like they could hold out for several hours while waiting for the power to kick in. I am glad, though, the power transfer wasn't as creepy as I was expecting, because, Deku kept, pointing out his blood-covered finger I'm like, oh, please don't tell me Bakugo's gonna have to, lick his finger or to do something like that. That would be really creepy, but I guess they both had cuts on their hands, so they just were able to, put their hands together, blood went from Deku into Bakugo, and that was all it took for him to inherit the power. And then there's, of course, how it ended, where it's like, oh, Bakugo passed out before the process was complete, so therefore, I guess the power went back to Deku. That was just really cheap. That was cheesy. I didn't like that. I would have had no problem with them saying, oh no, Bakugo is just going to get the power back because it's not really his power and it's Deku's power, and he wants to defeat Deku, become number one hero on his own skill and his own merit, not power he took in. This just seemed kind of oof. And very, very slight manga spoiler here, but one of the past users seems to pass down the power to the next one on their deathbed, so if the recipient passing out is enough to cancel the process, wouldn't the giver dying end the process and just be the end of One for All? So that's kind of weird. Yes, I'm complaining a lot about the scene because it does seem to break the continuity a little bit, but overall, the sight of Deku and Bakugo fighting together, both holding on to One for All, was absolutely freaking amazing, and I loved it. They were literally gods. They literally changed the weather with their punches. That's literally what All Might did in the first chapter that made everyone so amazed. He made it rain with a punch. And Deku and Bakugo were yeah, we're just going to clear the entire sky with our punches. That was really cool. I like that. Now, as for Deku in this movie, he was really good. I really like the parallels between him and All Might in this movie, especially the ending when he's yelling at the kid, "You can become a hero!" I teared up a little in the movie when I was watching that because it's just such... that was the moment that changed everything. When All Might told Deku, "You can become a hero," he fell to his knees crying. I teared up a little bit because it was such an emotional, impactful moment for him. For someone to finally encourage him, finally tell him, yes, you can do it. You can become a hero. And for Deku to pass on the torch, tell this to the next kid. You can become a hero as well. You can do great things. That was such a great moment for him. I really like that. Honestly, though, just everyone else shining so brightly. Deku didn't really stand out this movie. That's crazy. All right, so the villains. Villains are pretty good. Slice had a power to control her hair, turn it into blades, or shoot out at people. I think she was in love with Nines. I mean, she was an okay villain. Didn't really seem all threatening. I mean, same with the mummy guy. You know, he was an interesting villain, but he just kind of existed as an obstacle for them to fight the first act of the movie. Chimera, though, Chimera I liked. I mean, his whole design, just being a literal chimera who can fire hyper beams out of his mouth, that was really cool. That was amazing. And I do kind of like his backstory, you know? People discriminated against him because he looked like a monster, because he had such ridiculously, stupidly strong powers, and because of that, people just assumed racism, that he was a villain, so they treated him like a villain. Eventually, he became a villain. Pretty good motivation right there for him wanting to make a whole new world where there's less discrimination. And then we have Nines, and he was a really interesting villain. I like the concept of his quirk is so overwhelmingly powerful that it's literally destroying his own body. That was pretty cool. You know, him being able to steal quirks made him a real serious threat to Deku and everyone else. I mean, when he started stealing Deku's quirk, I'm like, oh no, he's going to inherit the power and Deku's going to be weak and helpless and a quirkless loser again for the rest of this movie until he kills him and gets it back or something. Thankfully, it didn't work. I will discuss that more in the manga section. But yeah, I really liked him in the power he had. I mean, the freaking lightning he shot down from the sky. Not gonna lie, when he first used that quirk, I thought that was the power where he stole from the kid's father. I thought that was the power the kid's father had. Like, oh my freaking lord, what is this man's life where he can destroy an entire town with lightning as his quirk? What does he do for a living? I mean, it definitely led to a lot of confusion when Katsuma said his quirk could fix Deku and Bako. I'm like, how is striking them with lightning gonna fix anything? Oh, I definitely want to talk about his quirk. I'm definitely going to talk about his quirk. But yeah, so Nine's whole goal is literally just make a world where the strong are in control, which, you know, makes a certain amount of sense. If you have the power to destroy an entire city, I kind of feel like you should be in charge. I feel like people aren't going to question the decisions of someone who can destroy entire cities with a flick of his wrist. Just saying. Now, is that a fair society? Absolutely not. But society makes a good amount of sense. I mean, our current society, you know, the strongest, the smartest, the richest, whatever. People born with certain abilities are able to essentially take control and rule everything because they have those abilities. So not that crazy that a person's ability to literally control the weather would affect where they sit in the social hierarchy. Oh, he's also voiced by the same voice actor that did Orga from Iron Blooded Orphans, my favorite anime, which I just really loved hearing him again. I like that. All right, now let's talk about the kids. Myro's definitely an interesting little girl. I mean, she constantly badmouths heroes because she's worried about her brother becoming a hero and end up getting hurt because of it. But yet her quirk, it might actually be more suited for hero work than his is. She can create holograms, illusions, whatever, that are incredibly large and fairly lifelike. And that's as a little girl. I mean, she keeps training that power. She keeps making, you know, the illusions more and more accurate, more and more realistic. That could be a real powerhouse for her. Just imagine, you know, she's teaming up with another hero, and all of a sudden there's 20 of that hero fighting against the villain. You could very easily confuse the villain, let the hero get in a good hit, take him out. So she'd be very well suited for hero work like that. And apparently her holograms can also speak and make sounds. Definitely used for that, you know, just issuing out a giant warning. Danger here! Run away! Please evacuate in a calm, orderly manner. I mean, that could be very helpful for, you know, just getting people out of the way, telling them not to come, warning them there's a villain attack. I could definitely see her becoming a hero with that quirk. And I just absolutely freaking loved when she used her quirk to make a giant 60-foot tall Deku to ask for help. That was amazing and adorable, and I loved it. Oh, Deku looked so cute as a giant inflatable something. Like I said, hopefully her illusions get a little more realistic as she practices and works with them. But yeah, she could really work well as a hero. Now for Katsuma's quirk, cell activation. A lot of questions exactly what that wants. I mean, obviously the villain wants it so he, you know, can keep his body from falling apart whenever he uses his quirk. But for the average person, what would that actually mean? I'm not really sure. I mean, he could heal the wounds fairly quickly. That's with little to no training. But I guess it's only for people with certain blood types, so hard to say how useful that would be. But at the same time, he could also use it on himself to activate his cells, allowing himself to instantly regenerate, or himself to, like, enhance his muscles, his body, making himself stronger, faster, maybe even smarter. and being able to like instantly regenerate, that does actually sound like a pretty impressive hero right there. I mean, if he uses the quirk to like give himself superhuman muscles and uses his sister's quirk to create illusions so the villain doesn't know exactly where he's coming from, they could definitely become a very powerful hero team taking out villains, and that'd be interesting to see. I like that. Alright, so yeah, overall I really enjoyed this movie. I really liked how the characters got a chance to shine, show off what they could do when they really have the chance to be put in the spotlight. It's not something you really see very much in the series, and this class has 20 students in it. That's a little hard to give, everyone the focus they need. I mean, I know absolutely nothing about Sato except for the fact that he likes to cook. So giving everyone a chance to really show off what they can do with their full strength, I really like that. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. Moving forward, I'm going to talk about what I think is coming for the future of the series. So manga spoilers ahead. If you're not caught up with the manga, close the video now. All right, let's get into this. So starting off, the very beginning of the movie, we had a fight between Dabi and Endeavor. Could this be a father versus son fight? That's the big question. We still don't know 100% if these two are related, though the whole community really does seem to think they are. And here we saw, normal, regular attacks between the two of them are fairly evenly matched. They both hit with what they had, and it can't basically cancel each other out. But then when Endeavor went full strength, he utterly obliterated Dabi, which, interesting. I mean, that is the question. I mean, from what I understand about Dabi, his flames are hotter than Endeavor's. They burn brighter, as in they burn blue, but they actually burn him as well, so he can't actually use his full strength without hurting himself. And since he was double at the start of the movie, if he used full strength, he would have broken the body, and therefore the double would have broken. He also... there's definitely some interesting lines he said towards Endeavor. Working late, huh? I hope they're getting overtime. At the end, he just kind of cursed Endeavor's name, like, Endeavor. So, regardless of whether or not he's his long-lost son, definitely a connection to them. I mean, that must be obvious at this point, and hopefully we finally get some answers on that sooner rather than later. Alright, next on, let's talk about Deku and his quirks. Now, we also got a good shot of all the past users of One For All here, and the one in the background, it was blurry and they were dark, but they had a deep red to them. Their eyes were glowing red. It has me wondering if maybe like the second or third user is the one All Might can ever find any information on. Maybe they weren't actually a hero. Maybe they were actually a villain who used the power for evil purposes, somehow managing to trick the one before them into giving it to them, and then somehow their person they passed it on to became a hero. I mean, I definitely like that. That'd be an interesting twist of the story if one of the past users was a villain, was evil, or used his power selflessly. Very interesting to see how Deku's going to respond to meeting that person inside of One For All. Definitely like to see that. But what's interesting, though, is, if I remember correctly, Deku has 8 quirks. And Nine's power was to steal 8 quirks. I have to feel like these two are related. I think Nine's was created to steal One For All, to steal all the powers, and be able to use it to its full effect. I mean, he even said in the movie, I don't currently have the space for all the quirks inside his body. He even calls Deku a miracle. So that means that he would have exactly enough space for all of them if he hadn't taken any other quirks. And I feel like that's what the Doctor originally had planned. He was the One For All prototype that was going to take in all the powers, become the new One For All, and then, I don't know, maybe pass powers on to All For One, maybe use for experimentation, maybe find a way to use the power multiplier on the Nomu to make them super strong as well. I'm just not sure about that. Oh, we also found confirmation. All For One can be copied. The power can be implanted in someone else, which is a very big deal, because at the end of the last chapter of the manga, the Doctor was clearly seen carrying 2 vials, 2 quirks in a jar, essentially. So could he have All For One's quirk with him, and could he pass that power on to someone else now? It's very interesting he said that he definitely would seem very surprised that Nine's was compatible with All For One. That means that maybe the reason the Doctor doesn't have the power of All For One isn't because All For One wouldn't trust him with it, but because his body was literally incompatible. I mean, this Doctor's worked with hundreds and hundreds of people and experimented on them endlessly, and yet he was so utterly shocked that this person was as compatible as he was with All For One that he could steal 8 quirks. That means All For One's body, chemistry, and everything else is so utterly unique that even 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 people wouldn't be able to inherit his quirk like that. Though that could also mean that once Shigaraki finishes his upgrades, he'll be compatible and can be given All For One, and that would make him just so utterly, terrifyingly, ridiculously OP that I'm actually a little scared about that. I'm also curious if Nines is the result of the quirk singularity. This is what the Doctor's been afraid of, what he's been preaching, what he keeps talking about. At a certain point, quirks become so powerful, so overwhelming that the human body simply can't hold them in, can't control them. So does that mean that Nine's essentially the future of humanity? There will come a point down the road where every person's quirk is so overwhelmingly powerful that if they ever use it, it would literally destroy them. That's definitely interesting. That would definitely be a good way of showing that off, but let me think all down below. What do you think of the movie? What do you think this means for the series moving forward? Do you think one of the past users of One for All could have been a villain? Do you think that Nines was created to steal One for All from Deku? Let me think all down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to this next video. Until then,
Peace.